Yeah, I've read all this briefly, and from what I can tell, the judge is saying, like, so Perez files a motion to quash in Nevada. I'm still confused about all the stuff with them transferring the courts, and I don't have an associate to research it for me. So I don't know, but it doesn't really matter. It's all federal law. He files the motion to quash in Nevada. They file their opposition in New York. Blake does. But the opposition contains stuff that is redacted. And so what the judge was basically saying was, for him to be able to reply to your response, he has to see what you're citing, right? He has to know what it is you're claiming links him to this case so that he can speak to it in his reply. So what he's saying is you need to give him that, and you need to give him a copy of the protective order to say, like, hey, we're giving you this so that you can reply, but you can't share it with anybody. Here's the judge's order. So the judge is trying to give Perez the information he needs to properly litigate this issue. As for the merits, Perez is kind of making the same arguments that the content creators made, and I don't think that's going to fly. He is not, Ashley or Lauren, who are, isn't this cute? My paralegal got it for me for Christmas last year. It's a French bulldog. He is not someone doing this for fun. This is how he makes his living. This is how he's been making his living for 20 years. So saying like, oh, I'm not involved in this and this has nothing to do with me. I mean, they make a good point, and their opposition of like, he's made 500 videos about her. So it's not a one-off situation. I think the most interesting issue that's being raised by him is he's trying to use the journalist's shield. Say, I'm a journalist and I cannot be required to turn over information about my sources. Now, he cites a Nevada shield law because he lives in Las Vegas, and there's some interesting choice of law issues there. But I find that a fascinating question of, is Perez Hilton a journalist for purposes of the law? I can see the argument both ways. I can see the argument that they made of he doesn't act like a journalist, he takes sides, he pumps things up, he repeats things that are not verified, he uses AI pictures that aren't real, But I can also see the other side of it, which is, this is America. Remember that song? That was a good song. And have I told you guys about my, I have like an insane crush on Andrew Scott. Also, Donald Glover, FYI. But I can see the other argument of like, we need to err on the side of protecting privilege. I mean, it really is like getting down to the main point of this case, which is, if content creators are making information about this case, particularly the ones who do it professionally, are they engaging in journalism or are they part of a smear campaign? So I'm interested in how that turns out. I can't be bothered to read all of the law about all of those things. I just don't have the bandwidth this week to do that. But I don't think that the Lively people are completely off base on this one. I think they have some solid arguments of like, we asked who they directly talked to about this case. They listed this person. We asked this person for information. And here's why we don't think he's a journalist. And again, whether he's a journalist or not, that's a legal decision that the judge is going to have to make. I do think they're absolutely right where he says this is an undue burden. People make that argument that it's an undue burden for them to comply with the subpoena, because that's like one of the only reasons that the rule gives is I can't do this because it's an undue burden. And I think that was an easier argument to make for the people who were individual private citizens who just happen to have a YouTube channel or a TikTok account to talk about this stuff in their free time. He is a professional online person. It's not an undue burden for him to go through his own website or his own emails that are related to it's just his business. They're subpoenaing his business. So I don't think that argument necessarily holds water either.